So the most recent chapter of One Punch Man leaves off on a pretty big cliffhanger and actually kicks off probably, in my opinion, the best arc in the entire series so far. Yeah, I'm talking even better than the Monster Association arc. Everything from here on out is going to be build up leading to some crazy climax. So those of you that have read the webcomic and are up to date with the webcomic, you guys all know where this is leading. And from this point on is when this arc really starts to pick up. So I'm very excited about that. Also, after the chapter review, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about the anime right now. I know many of you don't even want to think about it, but there are some things I want to talk about and maybe some things that might interest you in a little bit. So just hang tight for that. But to kick off this short but pretty good chapter, in my opinion, we get this sweet manga cover by Murata where it shows pretty much all of the Neo leaders doing some cool poses, like in Felsenave behind him. That's the guy that's like this massive cult leader that has this like levitating orb somehow. And of course, Wavy Gaza at the bottom right. Peak art as always from Murata. There's no surprise there. And the chapter actually kicks off with recruiters from the Hero Association looking for some dojo deep in the mountains. If you guys remember, these are the same people that tried recruiting Neo leaders to the Hero Association. One of them being Raiden, who rejected the offer because he had already agreed to join the Neo leaders. Now, this is all happening because, as we all know, a lot of S-Class heroes have left the Hero Association, like Bang retiring, Child Emperor, and also Metalbat leaving for the Neo leaders. In a sense, they're not actually leaving, but they're more so going undercover, but not really anybody knows that within the Hero Association besides like Sitch and Sekingar. We also have Super Alloy Darkshine that's semi-retired and has also joined the Neo leaders as some kind of trainer. And now with the recent arc with the My Mask being exposed as a monster, they are very short-handed on powerful heroes. That's pretty much, if you include a My Mask as a S-Class hero, that's like 5, maybe 6 that have already been out of commission. Over a third of the S-Class heroes. So it turns out the person in specific they're looking for is a man named Suicho. He's the master of the Void Fist, a unique technique for shifting one's center of gravity and for attacks and defense. They pretty much see him as the clear replacement for Silver Fang since he's an old guy that's a martial arts master. Not to say here that Suicho is as strong as Bang, that they're like on the same level, but you know, that's something that we're never going to know because as we're going to see, the only person at the dojo is Suiko, someone that we've met already in previous chapters. She is the sister of Suiryu. Yeah, I know a lot of Suis in the name, but that's kind of like the theme they have going on here. I'm assuming they're all family. Suiko says here that Master Suicho grandpa passed away 2 years ago, but he would be overjoyed to hear that he has been invited to join the S-Class heroes. Still, he was really stubborn, so in the end, he probably would turn it down. So the recruiters are pretty disheartened at this point, but the female recruiter says, by the way, among the disciples here, is there someone who is extraordinarily strong? And Suiko responds by saying his only disciples are his grandchildren. That's my older brother and me. We all know that Suiryu pretty much like effed off for a few years and just, you know, focused on women and winning tournaments and acquiring money that way, just kind of living the easy life. But as we know at this point, he's now a Neo leader, so he was going to join the Hero Association, but kind of like almost got tricked into joining the Neo leaders. So as being the only disciple left and possibly being very strong, she pretty much just says, I'll do it. I'll join the S-Class for you. Like super confident about it. Now, for those of you that are webcomic readers, you already know the level of strength that Suiko is at, but at this point, like there is a possibility maybe in this manga continuity that she kind of either gets buffed, nerfed, we don't really know, but either way, she is likely a powerful person, and she's going to start to play a much bigger role in the story going forward. Then we cut over to the Neo Leaders headquarters as we see A dripped out in his newly revamped design. We're going to see that like a lot of the Neo Leaders are also kind of like revamped in their design. I'm not sure if this is kind of like a redesigning of their characters or just like they just changed clothes. He says, so Sweet Mask turned out to be a monster. There goes another one from the Hero Association. More importantly, as a monster, he is no longer protected by law. Zaydat's the one saying this continues to say, with this he lost all human rights. Not to mention that being a celebrity only makes it even harder. Pitiful thing. If you guys remember, Zaydat's is the guy that pretty much has all the money. He's like the big funder of the Neo heroes. And for some reason, he's a Neo leader, even though he has no abilities or strength at all. He just has money. And it's implied that he has some kind of tech that's going to help him in battle. So you can kind of think of him as like kind of like a crappy version of Iron Man almost. But then we dial in on the perspective of Wavy Gaza, who punches this like massive crater into one of the pillars in the Neo leader's meeting room or whatever it is. And we find out why she's so upset, because she says super idol Sweet Mask that his true identity is actually a monster is unforgivable. How dare he retire over something like that? I wanted to defeat him with my strength as an idol. If you guys remember Wavy Gaza, whatever you want to call her, she's kind of like the counterpart to My Mask in the Neo leaders. She's not a monster herself, but she's kind of similar in this fact with My Mask in that she's like not really human either. In previous chapters, we learned that she's over 70% cyborgified and had all these other experiments done onto her to like kind of make her as powerful as possible and make her a hero. So it's gonna be kind of interesting as we follow her along throughout the story, because she's gonna start to get highlighted even more and kind of see where her morals and interests kind of like either are similar to Amaya Mask and where they kind of differ. But then they all get interrupted by McCoy, who comes in this like transmission or hologram thing and says, Amaya Mask's retirement will create a stronger headwind. The Hero Association is heading towards demise, which of course, as we learned, is something that he was kind of anticipating and hoping for, and honestly might have even orchestrated, because we learned some chapters back that he has some kind of plan to expose Amaya Mask's secret. We now know that that's the fact that he's a monster, and it's something that he's going to somehow use as leverage to hop on over to the Neo Heroes and become one of their top executives through the information that he brings from the Hero Association. So McCoy is a true traitor here. He was pretty much plotting and hoping for the demise of Amaya Mask. He also goes on to explain something that's very important for the Neo Heroes as a whole. He says, on the other hand, as a result of our meticulous political maneuvers, we have obtained the necessary legal permissions. We are now able to act openly with the same authority as the Hero Association. This includes the ability to carry weapons and the use of force while conducting hero activities. Now with that, they're essentially on the same level as the Hero Association at this point. They can operate in the exact same way, and honestly they're even above them at this point because their popularity has kind of eclipsed them with all the scandals that they've had previously, which of course is not good news for the Hero Association. And of course, like the first one to kind of like perk an ear up to this is Ryuman, the guy that's like the former gang leader, and he says, in other words, we can now wander around town holding pistols, right? Again, also updated, dripped out look. Definitely appreciate that. And we also see Super Alloy Darkshine and Metal Bat here, who are wondering where Blue is. He's the only Neo leader that's not present, and he's the leader of all of them. Then Child Emperor points out that he looked happy when he rushed out earlier and hasn't been back since. He said something about Neo Hero's first job, to exterminate the monster at the center of the media storm, which is Amaya Mask. And then we see a shot of Blue determined walking down the street, but then under that we also see Saitama buying some dog food. As we all know, that's more than likely for Overgrown Rover and probably Black S as well, since they're now his like pets living with him, like his pet dog and his pet monkey, I guess I think they call him. And of course I know, because I read the webcomic, I know what's coming after this, but even seeing just this panel, you can kind of get the idea that Saitama and Blue are probably going to cross paths or something here, or at least like have some kind of like intermingling storylines at this point. Because of course, if he's going to go eliminate Amaya Mask, then he's going to try to figure out where he went, and the person, probably the only person that knows where he went, is Saitama. So he's probably going to end up having some kind of conversation with him in the coming chapter. And like I said, this is pretty much like the kickstart to everything that happens in this major like Neo Heroes arc. Neo Heroes are going to be much more active, much more involved in the story, and it's going to lead to some pretty insane stuff. Like if you're in a manga only, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but like again, like I said, my opinion, it leads into probably the best arc of the series so far. And that's saying a lot considering that the Monster Association arc was so awesome and it was so amazing that it's very hard to believe anything that could top that. But in my opinion, this arc is going to top that. Now, I did say I wanted to talk a little bit about the anime and some things that have been kind of coming from it, and a lot of rumblings from the fan base that is leading to some pretty interesting stuff. Just before I get to that though, I do want to give a quick shout out to GamerSupps. They sponsor this video and pretty much every video that I have. They have some great supplements that help to give you energy without giving you any of the crash. You can see all the ingredients on the back, or if you like check them out on the website. I drink it every day to work on videos and just pretty much work on other stuff that I do on my computer. But the one that I'm the most happy with is this AFK. Now this is primarily for sleep. I have always had issues sleeping. I sleep super late and have to wake up early a lot of the times, and have definitely gotten like 3, 4, 5 hours of sleep like straight for some months on end. And this has been a complete game changer for me. I get full nights of sleep, get super tired like 10-15 minutes after I drink it. You don't even need a whole scoop. I take half a scoop personally, and that's good enough for me. So if you want some help getting some energy during the day and also help getting some sleep at night, then click the link in my description below and use my code ANIMEX at checkout to get 10% off your order. It really supports the channel. It really helps me out, and it also, helps save you some money while ordering some of this stuff, and also some of like the waifu cups they have on there that I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to like. But going back to what I was saying, as many of you guys have probably already seen, it's been going crazy all over Twitter and like Reddit and stuff like that. The latest episode of One Punch Man is now the most low rated episode in anime history. Now, that is not saying that like this episode is literally the worst episode in anime history, because I don't think most people that like are reasonable will agree with that. Yes, it was not a good episode. I did not like it. It was very bad in many aspects. But as someone that's watched anime for like 20 years now, I can definitely say I can think off the top of my head like 5 different anime episodes that are hands down 100 times worse than this. But needless to say, this shows like the very heavy frustration with the fan base at this point. Like they're kind of at a breaking point where even loyal fans of the series, like people that'll consume any One Punch Man content in whatever capacity, are now completely dropping the series because like there's just no point to watching it anymore. You're having just a better time reading the manga. Like there's been many cases where people point out that there's even more animation in the manga than there is in the actual anime. And this is not an exaggeration, this is true. It also just seems like they just do not care. Like there's no real passion behind the project. It's just something that they had to push out because they were kind of like on restricted schedules and didn't really have time to put enough like love and care into each episode. Whatever the reason is, I mean, there's a lot of there's a lot of blame to go around, really. Bandai Namco primarily, but there's also some blame to go around with JC staff, the direction of the season as a whole, like just a lot of stuff to go around here. But all this frustration has led a lot of people to start discussing like a fan-made season, or maybe not even a fan-made season, but just like fan-made remakes of some of the best fights in that are going to be in this season that are more than likely going to be fumbled, as they have been, like with the fight with Garo and Orochi. That's something I've posted about on X before, just kind of wondering like what it would be like if a bunch of fan animators kind of teamed up to make a compilation of some of the greatest fights from this season. And it really got me to thinking, like I've always wanted to help fund and help like support a lot of fan animators, a lot of people that put a lot of their free time into making animations that people really enjoy. So I kind of just like wanted to put a feeler out there to you guys. Like the people that stick around to the end of this video are usually the ones that like actually watch my videos and have been watching them for a while. So your guys' opinions are the ones I want the most. That's kind of why I waited to the end of this video to ask this question. But what would you guys think about, you know, me, maybe not just primarily me, but like other people in the space, setting up some kind of like, I don't want to say studio, but some kind of conglomerate of animators, helping to get funding for them to do some fan animations for One Punch Man, specifically for One Punch Man Season 3 fights. It's something that I've been mulling over for a little bit, but I always think like, man, like I wouldn't even know where to start. Like, would anybody even want to help the cause? Would anyone even want to join as an animator? Things like that. So this is kind of me putting out a feeler to you guys to ask the question, like, is this something that you would want to see? Is this something that you would support? I feel like since a lot of these talented animators have the liberty of just having as much time as they need to create these cuts and fights, we can produce something very, very good and exciting for the fan base. So let me know in the comments below what you think about that idea, about starting some kind of like project or semi-animation studio where we kind of like combine a bunch of fan animators and talented animators. I of course would help commission this, but we would definitely need a lot of help from the One Punch Man fan base because animation can be very expensive. So I want to ask you guys what you think and if it's something you would even want. Again, let me know what you think in the comments below, but that is it for this one. Have an absolutely wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.